All right, folks, whiskey fan, welcome to the Whiskey One channel. I'm flanked here by my friend Patrick Starkey, and we have Jarrad Gollihue in the house from RD1 Spirits. Good to have you.
Good to be here as well.
Well, we briefly talked before we started this whole interview process and got to learn a little bit about like how you heard about the channel, which is interesting. And we just kind of want to jump in and if you'd like, share a little bit about your journey. How did you find your way to RD1?
Yeah, so my journey to RD1 starts at the University of Kentucky, where I did my PhD and postdoctoral work. Um, I had was at the university and was an instructor and a researcher, and was also helping commission the University of Kentucky's teaching and research distillery. And I was kind of the low PhD on the totem pole at the university, and RD1 actually reached out to the university because they wanted to have students come in and make a product on their still in Lexington, Kentucky. And so my boss at the time, who's now the director of the Beam Institute, Seth DeBolt, told me to go meet with RD1 and figure out what they wanted to do. So we ended up teaching a class on gin production. RD1 was super generous with their time. Different people that were, their chief operating officer from their our parent company, and then also the supplies for the students. And I kept in touch with RD1 because at that time I kind of thought I might be a lifelong academic. A couple of years later, I decided that probably wasn't going to be the path I wanted to do. And RD1 had sent me a job posting for a master distiller position. And I had kept in touch because good university instructors keep in contact with the industry to help their students find jobs. So what I said was, okay, well, I'm going to apply for this position, but I'm also going to send it out to my students because that's what I said I would do. And then a few months later, I got a phone call being like, would you do this? Like it was, and I said, well, let's have a conversation about it, what it looks like. And then, RD1, we're a fairly small company given how many states we're in. They then massaged that job into really playing into my strengths with my academic pathway, moving me from what a traditional master distiller role is to what I have now called the research and development master distiller, because I do a lot of product development and things like blending. And then also I have a small distillery here in Lexington, Kentucky that I run, but it's very small. Our bulk production, and we've talked about this in other interviews, happens in Western Kentucky by a gentleman named Jacob Kaw, who's a sixth generation master distiller. And I get to play with it once it gets in the warehouse. So, which is, running an industrial facility is challenging. So it's nice. I just have to worry about blending it and making our new products. So that's kind of the spark notes of how I ended up here. And I've been here for a little over 2 years.
Sounds like a fun job, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you another question, and I know Patrick's got a few things that he wanted to ask you as well. As I got to learn a little bit about you behind the scenes before the interview, one of the things that I remember you talked on is that you're big on flavor, right? And I'd like to know from your perspective, and also as we pop our first whiskey here, is which RD1 whiskey do you feel is big on flavor out of what you guys have
Oh,
released?
big on flavor. Well, I would say that they all have quite a bit of flavor. They're just different expressions with those different flavor profiles. I was joking and kind of not joking. I was at a whiskey festival in Beaumont, Texas, and this lady came up to me and she said, I generally drink Crown Royal. What do you have that's going to match that flavor? And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't help you. Um, and she, like the look of shock on her face, and I was like, I don't have anything that's that boring. Um, if that's your preference, that's your preference. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like all of our stuff has more flavor than that. So when I say I'm big on flavor, it really depends on what you're into. So we can go ahead. We've talked for a few minutes and we don't have Glens full of whiskey. So maybe we start with that French oak and talk about kind of what's going on here. So
Is that this
at
one?
RD1,
I think this is
that would be the
Yep.
red and maroon one, not the brown.
Yep.
Yes.
I think that's a
So I've got the
fantastic
big,
idea.
yeah, I've got the big bottle here. So
I'm jealous.
I'm going to join you. I'll join you here. So, uh, with us, we're really interested in knowing what bourbon can do next. I was talking to some whiskey nerds, and they were saying that traditional bourbon profiles are not really that different from each other. I was sitting with a critic from a newspaper and a magazine, and the thing that she told me that was really interesting is that normally when you get to whiskey, you're looking at shades of gray between expressions. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of thought. Um, because I usually like to try to find things that are unique, they're going to be different. And this is going to definitely have more traditional bourbon characteristics, but you're also going to see the influence of the French oak. So this one might be a touch more shade of gray than the other two that we're going to explore today as well. But to answer your question, I definitely think the Amburana and the oak and maple ones that you have in front of you are really big on flavor,
Sure.
outside of the traditional whiskey wheelhouse. Now, I do have a favorite that unfortunately I didn't send you. It's our Sister Cities blend release. You might see that out. It's a bourbon rye blend with Mizunara and French oak. And that one's just really exciting on being big on flavor and then having a really fun flavor progression and finish.
I
So,
think I saw you interview with Bourbon Blog, if I'm not mistaken, and that's the bottle that you had sent him, and you guys definitely got through that one pretty good, and it seemed like a fun one to talk through. So I forgot to
oh, yeah.
mention, cheers. We're drinking together, so let's do this right. Cheers.
French oak
Mm.
is a really fun wood.
So 101 proof. What
Mhm.
was this your undertaking? Was this like one of the ones that you wanted to put forward from RD1?
Well, they had already started on a journey of doing wood finishing before I got there. So they were really interested in that path and seeing what it is. And then the thing that I've brought to it is our future expressions are really refining that down in ways that are a little different. So the way I would describe what they were doing before I came was they were working with lots of different vendors, and I still do that, but they were kind of going off of what the vendor recommendations are. Where now I
Gotcha.
go, okay, let's like they're nice for advice, but let's break this down even further. We've got some woods that we've played with at our gift shop here in Lexington, Kentucky, that um, if we were following vendor advice, they would be undrinkable. So one of those woods that I'm really excited that we have here, we haven't put it out as a core expression. So if you come to the gift shop, you'll be able to try it. Is this wood called balsamo? And if you follow the recommendations on it, it just becomes overbearing from the finish. It's over finished. It becomes one note. There's no nuance to it. Um, so that's partially what I've done. So the three that we're doing today are ones that they had made before I got here, and now I gotta make sure we don't mess it up. So,
It's a fun responsibility to have.
yep.
Well, I like it. It's got a bit of a spice and dark note to it, um, like some dark chocolate going on. It's got a good amount of heat. Even for 101 proof, it feels pretty full bodied. I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's one
Yeah,
good one to start with.
we try to make sure that when we're working on these products that there's no. I don't really like whiskey that burns all the way down. Like I'm really paying attention to that hedonistic sensation. So I frequently what I'll do is I'll test it on my wife. So she's a red wine drinker. When we met, I was making wine, and I'll ask her what her feeling on it is, and she'll say, "It tastes like heartburn," things like that. Oh, thank you. Okay, so fun story about French oak is that we had a journalist reach out from Forbes to talk to us about bourbon and French oak, since we have this expression. And I did exactly what any good student would do. I waited to the last minute to do my response after working in the warehouse all day, and wrote like a 3-page technical paper on French oak and bourbon. and then I sent them in, and I was a little worried about it because I wrote it like I was writing, a graduate level,
right? Postdoc.
Yeah, like an article that would be submitted to a journal, and it cracked me up because I read the article when it came out, and he pretty much copied and pasted every single thing I said. So, which was great. It was fun. It surprised me how much I got quoted in that article.
Well, that's a good sign you got integrity. That's good.
Well, yeah. French oak's fun. You can pull it from different forests and get different flavor profiles. We use French oak from Central France. There is some different species of French oak out there as well. So, and they all have different flavor profiles to it. So we might play with those later. Right now, I'm working with some of our suppliers because when we say French oak, it's Quercus robur or Quercus sessile. They have spread all through Europe, and there's a forest in the Baltic countries that I really want to get some wood from. I just don't know how to get to that yet. So.
Well, you could get a lot of frequent flyer miles, I guess.
Well, I tried to import wood once, and the Department of Agriculture sent me a note saying, "Please don't."
Was that the balsamo?
Yeah, so it's kind of challenging to import wood into the U.S. You have to have certain permits for that. So me doing that as an individual or even as our company would be logistically challenging. You need to do it in the right way, and that way we don't accidentally introduce new pests into the U.S. So I was trying to bring some wood in from South America that wasn't a finished product. So the balsamo that we were talking about, that's actually comes directly from a Portuguese cooperage, or not Portuguese, Brazilian cooperage. They speak Portuguese, and that's fine. But if bringing in raw wood is technically challenging because they want to make sure it doesn't have critters in it or funguses and that could cause ecological damage, which is important to highlight since I'm an ag college graduate. So,
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how much do you think your background benefits your role?
It helps sometimes, and then other times where I kind of even pondered to myself, was all of this education necessary? Just, it comes up every once in a while. I can usually use it to solve problems effectively. I think in culture, there's this idea that PhDs just know a lot of stuff, and they might know some things, but really what a PhD is a problem-solving degree. You learned a very specific set of skills and a way of thinking to solve problems, and developing new products or even blending for consistency, that is a problem you're trying to solve. So how do you make an optimal product is just an interesting question to ask and an interesting problem to solve. So that's the way I approach it. That being said, there are some days where I'm in the warehouse rolling barrels and I have my steel-toe boots on, and I'm like, well, I don't know if all that schooling was really needed to do this. But it also gives some nice points whenever we can stop and talk about the technical aspects of it from like a peer-reviewed public literature mindset. Because in the whiskey world, there's a lot of hearsay and marketing spin on things that obscure what's actually happening. And we can dive directly into what the technical thing is. So the other day we were looking at some barrels of bourbon that had finished in a way that we weren't really pleased with. And having the technical background I have, I was able to explain why that happened. Now, knowing the why doesn't mean I had a magic wand to fix it, but it was an interesting to be like, okay, so this is probably why we're getting this. So it helps sometimes. And it's also fun. I get to talk to folks like you and other people to have all these like really cool ideas. And I'm like, well, let's go into it. Let's explain how this works.
Right.
Instead of making it up, let's get it and see what the reality is of it. Because the reality is usually much more interesting than anything we can make up.
So, I mean, on that note, like, what's been your most interesting moment in with your wood experimentations, the things that you're diving into now?
Well, there's been a few woods that I thought would be really fun and be really great that turned out to be awful. So one of them that I tell people all the time is that if you come to the distillery, we've got these placards of wood that I've tried where I've made a 1/750 of it to see what's going on. And sandalwood was one that I was very interested in just because I thought it'd be cool. It's a flavor or it's an aroma that we're well aware of.
Right, right.
And, within the first 6 hours of finishing with that, I had like this whiskey profile that was really more for like gin drinkers. And it was really exciting and interesting. And then within 24 hours, it had a note that someone on our tasting panel pointed out, and then I could never untaste it. And they were like, it's got an essence of roadkill. And I went, oh, no.
Oh, that's
no,
a fun
no, no.
one.
So, yeah. So sandalwood made 1/750, and then it got destroyed. So that was an interesting one. So I do a lot of reading about stuff all around the world, different alcoholic beverages, different woods and wood products. And there was, if I remember correctly, there's a resin that can be isolated from citrus trees that people would consume as like a candy. And I thought that orange tree wood would be really cool. So if you get real geeky into wood, the orange trees in the US are dying from something called citrus greening. It's a disease that's destroying them in Florida, and you have these orange tree groves that are dying off. So there's a surplus of orange wood at the moment. And there's some people trying to figure out something to do with it because you generally don't cut down fruit trees for their wood. And so I got a hold of a citrus farmer, and he sent me some orange tree wood, and I, made the 750, and I tried it, and I went, well, that's poison. Nope. So it just tasted so bad. That one, usually the test bottles I can give to people, and they'll test it down, drink it down. This one, it went into the fire. I was like, nope, it's this fire starter. This is awful. So those were two that were particularly awful.
So would you classify that as worse or at least better than the roadkill note?
I think people eat roadkill. I don't know about poison.
Yeah.
Because I suppose like there's some poison you won't be able to actually taste. You'll just die. But you said it reminded you, or did you say it reminded you of poison, or it really was just poison?
It reminded me of it. The mouthfeel of it, I was just like, oh, this is bad. Like it was enough that like I put it in my mouth and went, nope.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if the tannins in that tree were just so strong that it was bad. It was very bad. So no, we don't do that one.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. I've also brought in some other woods from Brazil that are used traditionally in Chicago. So the Amburana, which we can move on to next if you guys want to.
Sure.
Is
I was just going to ask you which one did you want to do next, but because Amburana is a bit polarizing. It has a very dominant note of cinnamon, right? Or it typically does. I was almost wondering, is he going to recommend the maple next or the Amburana? But you answered that question.
Yeah, we generally, when we do tastings, finish with the oak and maple, um,
Gotcha.
just because it's usually a sweeter profile. But yeah, our Brazilian Amburana here is at 110 proof, so it's going to be a little bit proofier than the other, the French oak. And with this, we do use Amburana wood, not barrels. The other day, my CEO Mike called me and he's like, "Hey, there's these guys that have really good deal on Amburana barrels that are new. Do you want them?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll just drill a hole in the bottom and we'll just run the whiskey right through it." And it's kind of me being a little bit of a smart ass. And he chuckled and I said, "I take it you don't want them." I said, "No, I don't want them." So you can go too far with Amburana. I think sometimes in the American whiskey space, we get infatuated with barrels to the point that it's detrimental to flavor.
Well,
So,
it definitely changes what you think of as a bourbon, right? Like, Patrick
mhm.
just poured it, and my immediate thoughts are, this smells like Christmas. And
Oh
most
yeah,
bourbons,
yeah.
I'm not thinking Christmas when I'm smelling them. There's a lot of vanilla. Sure, there's some cinnamon in there, some maple, but um, this one just screams Christmas. So a lot of fun flavor coming out of the glass.
This one also makes a really fun pina colada. So
Ooh,
Okay,
we should do
yeah,
that.
we
yeah, we should do that. Yeah,
so
yeah.
So with Amburana, where you get all of these like big spice notes that you're thinking Christmas, it works really well in tiki cocktails because in tiki cocktails, things like your Angostura bitters, your falernum, have all those Christmas
Hmm.
spices in them. So this works as a good way to do that. So
Got a,
um, I really,
I got a quick question for you, Jared, because you did mention pina colada, right? You ever
Mhm.
have horchata? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Horchata? Okay.
I do.
This
I do.
when you said, when you said that, I was like, this kind of reminds me of horchata, which is big out here.
Yeah, we have some pretty good Mexican restaurants that are definitely Mexican cuisine, not American Mexican cuisine here in Lexington, and they have horchata here too. It's it's not something I drink often because drinking bourbon all day at work, you get a lot of bourbon calories. So whenever you're doing things that aren't, you have to like balance your caloric intake.
Patrick knows a little bit about that.
Oh,
He brews, so
well, yeah.
he's started brewing, not distilling yet, but that's on the horizon. I'm sure he has a pint or two here and there.
Yeah, too many. So
There
it's all quality control.
you go.
Oh yeah, one of my good friends here in town. He's a big brewer. I showed him how to brew beer whenever he was an undergraduate, and he's just kind of taken off with it. He was actually trying to get me a couple of Saturdays ago to go brew beer all day, and I was just like, "Zach, I can't do that. I got to go take care of my kid." And he's just like, "Bring the kid." I'm like, "Oh yes, what 7-year-old wants to hang around a beer brewery all day around hot stuff they can't
Hmm.
touch?"
Yeah.
Yeah, ask my
So,
kids. I drive them nuts every time I want to go out of town because that's what we do. We go to distilleries, we go to breweries, and bore them to death.
well, it's funny where my son, he comes into the distillery here on like snow days or stuff like that, and we came in one Saturday because I needed to do something. I needed to get a shirt or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he just walks around like he owns the place. It's really funny because some of our patrons are so confused. They're like, "Why does this 7-year-old act like he knows what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's my kid."
Yeah,
So
that's
he
funny.
knows where the chocolate is.
Right,
So
exactly.
So I wanted to take time to compliment you on this finish. I am not an Amberana fan in the least. Everyone usually gets cinnamon. I tend to get potpourri,
mhm.
and I think that's because a lot of people use barrels, like you were saying, and overdo it. This is the first bourbon with Amburana that I've gotten cinnamon off of and don't want to throw away. So it's very
Well,
good.
thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for that. One of the things that's interesting here is where RD1's not a terribly large company. I get a chance to talk to everybody from our sales managers to our tasting room hosts, and I had one of our tasting room hosts wanted me to try a finish in the lab that was honey and chilies with Amburana, and I said, okay, we'll try it. Like, why not? We can do a 750 of it. Gives me an excuse to get to the Mexican grocery store to get lunch, and buy some like cold chilies. So I did it, and it totally had that potpourri note afterwards. So I made him a little 100 ml bottle. I did it just like I would any of my experimental samples, and I think he worked. It was about a week basically, and then we came back in and we tried it together. And I was like, "Well, Isaac, I don't think it quite did what you were hoping, but that was cool that you were thinking about it." But it totally had that potpourri note that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where I was like, "Oh, it went to lavender, which was super weird."
Okay.
Like, oh, this is kind of
Very
soapy.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like totally soapy, soapy potpourri. So I can see where you can go that way. Yeah, flavor chemistry gets complicated because usually people think that just by amplifying something, by adding more, you're going to get more of that flavor. But that doesn't always work because flavor chemistry doesn't scale in a linear way. So just adding more doesn't give you a more intense flavor. It can also modify where you're going.
Right.
Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Yeah. And I going back to my earlier question, I think that kind of is an advantage of your background, knowing that just is not a direct correlation. Like I'm learning that in brewing. But yeah, it's, for me, I'm a aircraft mechanic, so if it doesn't work, I bang it with a hammer. And if it still doesn't work, then I throw it away. So learning how to be gentle and take the nuances in and learn from it is new for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting from like a blending perspective. Every once in a while, there's some whiskey that I've worked with where I'm like, we're not going to release this as it is. But whenever I was doing some work on our next product that we'll have out this fall, I was like, you know what? Those earthy tones from that particular lot of whiskey that are not pleasant all by themselves, one barrel of that would work really good to go with this. So it's interesting as you start building your map out, you go, no, I think I'm going to try that and see what it is. So, but there is a surprising amount of times where sometimes hitting things with hammers does make it work. So
yeah, force works sometimes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, in the military, you just keep hitting it with a hammer too. There's that.
Sometimes just get a bigger hammer.
Right. Or the right hammer, right? The heavier hammer.
Yeah.
So I want to pick your brain about something. I watched an interview you did, and you mentioned that RD1 respects tradition, but is always looking to do something better. Where do you see RD1 like really making its mark in the bourbon or in the whiskey community at this point?
Well, I think we've got one thing that I can think of that we're really proud of is that if you want a unique barrel as a single barrel for your shop, your liquor store, your bar, if you message us, I have some that are one of ones or one of fours that you can get something very unique and special for yourself. It's going to not just be a shade of gray. It's going to be unique to your place. An example of this is that we did a Dunkel beer barrel finish that was really exciting. And that was a fun project because I got to work with the local brewery here in town. And from even a sustainability standpoint, it was cool because that single barrel generated 3 products. And we got to enjoy that wood 3 times because I sent them one of our straight barrels. they put beer in it for a long time. And where our barrels in that context are so fresh, the brewer was allowed to finish beer in the barrel way longer because it was a sterile media. So, as a brewer, Patrick, you know how microbial sensitive those things can be. I had them over here the other day, and I was thieving out of a barrel to show them something we had done, um, a peanut butter porter
Oh,
beer finish. Me being a little chaotic, and they were just like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about all this sterilization stuff." Because like when I'm over there trying beer with them, they've got like the bucket of Star San and like get the pipette out, and they're making sure everything's nice and clean. Where we don't have to worry about, we obviously worry about making sure there's no physical hazards, but we don't have microbial risk just because alcohol is a sterilant. So those are some things that are really fun and unique that we're making a mark in there, just having wild finishes. And I think you'll see as we progress that our finishes are going to be different, because we're not usually using full barrels, although we do have a few of them in there, of honing in and making sure that the wood is appropriately used. So coming down to a grams per liter level, and fixing on that. But then also, I'm not afraid to pull ingredients from wherever. I have some Mexican jungle honey in the lab right now, but I'm like, what's this going to do? It's just, I was playing with Saba, which is a Mediterranean grape syrup. It's used in cooking. It goes back to Roman time, called the fructum. People will use it for balsamic vinegar, and it was something that was barrel aged at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, we can really push the envelope in really exciting ways with unique barrel finishes, but then also by playing with wood and then seeing how all these flavors work together. Straight bourbon whiskey is great. I love getting a great single barrel of it, but let's see what else we can do. A lot of the bourbon drinkers that came in during the bourbon boom were not traditional bourbon drinkers. They were drinking rum, they were drinking tequila, they were beer drinkers, and they have a much broader palate for variation than what traditional whiskey profiles were. And you can definitely see this with Amburana. This has a very different profile than that French oak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to lean more into the experimental. Coming from a beer drinking background, anytime there's something just new or different, it's exciting.
Yeah,
exactly, and it's fun to play with that and see what people are doing. So I always get a kick whenever I see what else other people are, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that, or like I actually saw a whiskey that was finished in bitters barrels the other day, and I went, you're going straight to the old fashioned.
Right.
Yeah. Well, talk about some intense. So at some point you're kind of just adding just flavors from the components, right? Not necessarily just that barrel at that point.
Yeah, you can look at finishing with lots of different things, and I'll give Jack Daniels some credit. They had a very interesting barrel finish that they did, which was table syrup. And I just was like, well, people are into that. That's interesting. So if people aren't aware what table syrup is, it's what most of us would call pancake syrup.
Right.
Speaking of which.
It's a blend. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, oak and maple time.
Speaking of which, Patrick just poured it. And honestly, so the bottles are in this like packaging, right? And in the packaging, it doesn't have tasting notes, but it describes like what the experience is. And this one is pretty much a breakfast experience, right?
Yeah.
Lots of maple syrup. It really does smell like French toast. That's nice.
Yeah, and it's looking, so let me get this in the camera. Yep. So yeah, we've got these 3-packs out. If you want to just give us a quick try and see if there's a profile that you particularly like. They're really good for sending out to folks like you guys, so I don't have to send like a 6-pack case.
Right.
So they're very easy for us to ship.
Yeah, this is Kind of makes me want a hot brown.
Interesting. I got a note that I'm trying to put my finger on. It's it's part of the spice family, not spice hot, but like uh, very aromatic.
Mhm.
Um,
So
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, maple is one of those interesting flavors that people can smell and detect down to parts per trillion. So that's like a drop in an Olympic-sized swimming pool for scale. But maple is a prime example of a flavor that doesn't scale linearly. That actually, as you increase maple flavoring past a certain point, you actually end up with something that smells like fenugreek, which is a curry smell. So,
You hit the nail on the head. That was it. That was the note I was trying to like pull out as you were talking. I was like, it's a cross between like cumin, but it's East Indian food. And then when you said that, I was like, all right, that's it. That's it.
yeah, it's a fun one, and it's a balancing act on finishing this one because you want it to be as intensely mapley as you can, but you generally don't want that herbal note to come through. Most people find that polarizing. But it's been interesting to see what bartenders have done with this
Yeah.
because there was a cool cocktail bar we went to in Bardstown, um, and they were playing with the oak and maple with Amaros, making kind of these like riffs off Manhattans and Negronis. And well, wait, it's not a Negroni; it'd be a Boulevardier, right?
Mm.
Bourbon. I think that's the right one.
Yeah.
Anyways,
You can't ask me. I'm not a mixologist.
No,
I'm
that's
sure
that sounds
somebody's
right.
gonna be like, I'm sure somebody in the comments will be like, "Oh, they didn't get the cocktail right." Well, I don't drink
Yeah.
those that often, so
Yeah, let's boycott
so
them.
yeah, it's the herbal characteristics of the maple worked really well. But this, to me, could just be like a stack of flapjacks that when you get into there, it's like black pepper and like maple and pancakes. And this is the one that my wife actually likes quite a bit. And it's
There,
not.
there's like a really nice earthy sweetness
Yeah.
to it. Like as a foundation, it's there. But I'm sorry, I cannot help. I'm gonna point this out to the viewers. In
Mhm.
my opinion, there's a nice curry slash turmeric note on this.
Mhm.
It's it's something I've never come across in a whiskey. Usually, you get like anise notes from bourbon because there's like a high rye grain mash bill, right? Um, yeah, you're gonna get a little bit of that licorice, some winter spices, some baking spices, but I don't know that I've ever had a curry slash turmeric note on there.
Well, it'd be interesting, Israel, to see. Maybe you're very sensitive to that maple flavor because everybody's sensitive to them in different ways. We all perceive flavor differently. And do you eat much Indian food?
I don't. I don't. I like it,
No.
but I don't. Uh, I wish I did after smelling this. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're watching, there's a nice maple note, but there's a whole lot more than just like this sweetness. Uh, like there's a lot more going on than like a candy feel to it. Um, it's very
Yeah,
herbal.
and yeah, what's fun about it is even though you get that maple characteristic, it's still fairly dry. Like I know
Hmm.
sometimes people see this and they get kind of worried that it's going to be like a sugar bomb, but it's definitely not. And that just kind of comes into honing it in a way that it works.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
you know,
there's a lot more going on than you would think
Yep. I really
off
thought
the
it would be
nose.
like a dessert whiskey, honestly. What did you think like it would be?
I mean, probably taking your notes and turning them into something more appetizing. Uh, to me, it's like taking a high end breakfast sausage and dipping it in maple syrup and then eating it.
So savory notes. So
Yeah,
it's like
it's very
savory.
savory with sweet on the finish.
and this one's fun because like I get like a pecan note to it that's accentuated, and to point to some fun stuff that we can do with these inserts that you couldn't do if you're doing like a full barrel finish. is I'll take these oak and maple chains that we have and I'll put them in my smoker, and then get like a smoked oak and maple finish that is, it's fun one because like usually the way that works is I'll do those at 4th of July. I'll take like the day off before the 4th of July. Well, the day off, I'm actually working. And I'll smoke the chain and then I'll go ahead and then smoke my barbecue for the 4th of July. And then we'll put this into the whiskey and we release it usually around September. We'll have a barrel of this for the gift shop and it sells out quicker than anything else that we have. It's just a fun kind of riff on it where we're doing things with our using these wood inserts that you wouldn't really be able to do with a full barrel. Like there are people who have barrel smokers, but that sounds like that's very difficult. The other part that's nice is that with the chains, I can remove them from barrels. One of the things that's been fun is our warehouse crew dropped a bunch of chains. The eye hooks that we use didn't go into the bung well enough, and I've gotten very good at fishing in barrels. So now I can, I've got these stainless steel hooks that I'll drag in there and then yank them out if they fall in it. So those were some fun days in the warehouse last summer.
So as far as like the 3-pack of whiskeys, I really like the vision there because sometimes like you just want to taste all the different things that a distillery has to offer. You don't necessarily want to commit to like a full 750 of each bottle before you realize that didn't speak to me. So I like what you guys did with the sample pack, and thank you guys again for sending that to us. I know Patrick has a question for you, but I just want to at least highlight that this was a good move to send this to us so we could try different things and kind of talk to them.
Yeah, thanks. And, I'll go grab these 3 packs whenever I'm out and about if I'm doing like an impromptu tasting. So I got pulled into a family Christmas party in Houston where my in-laws are from. We were going to my brother-in-law's family. And I was like, well, they're going to ask, so I better bring something. So I'll even stop at the Total Wine and be like, okay, I need to buy a 3-pack.
Yeah.
So you still have to buy them.
Well, if I'm on the road, I'll just buy it on the company card. But it works really well that for me, because I mean, whenever I'm traveling for Christmas, I'm not going to like roll up with 12 bottles of whiskey. That's a little excessive.
Wait, did you just call us out?
Yeah, I think he just did. I think he just called us out. Thank you, Jarrad. Guilty. I mean, I know I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, one serious question and one not serious question. Not serious. Well, it could be serious depending on how you take it. How hard is it to not walk across the parking lot every day and get Goodfellas?
Well, we're not there anymore.
Oh, you're not?
We built a new facility. No, that's a good question. So to orient everybody, our old brand destination was at the Distillery District in Lexington off Manchester Street. Now we're about 2 blocks that way in a new development called The Commons that's on off Main Street. And it's, brand new, built just for us kind of area on for our distillery. But then we've got restaurants that are coming in here. And, to shout it out, there's this nice cafe that's maybe a block down from us that does sandwiches. And that's where I've been eating. Okay. But I've been honest, where I do so much work for us in the central Kentucky area going around, I've unfortunately gotten a taste for gas station food. So I'm not picky.
That's that PhD in you. That's like college student in you. Let's be honest.
I think that's more of the Eastern Kentucky in me when my doctor was like, please stop eating bologna. It's not uncommon for me to stop by the Speedway and get a hot dog.
That's been my career.
honest story is I did have to explain once why my lunch receipt when we were out was a 7-Eleven gas station receipt. They were like, why didn't you get real food? I was like, I was busy. So they're like, you bought an adult Lunchable and an energy drink. And I was like, yeah, we had stuff to do. So,
That's real food to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got calories, right?
Yeah. It was, it was 11 o'clock at night. So you kind of got what you got.
Yeah.
So,
And then
what was your serious question?
Oh, what do you guys have coming up that you're excited about, or that you guys are looking forward to releasing in the next year or so?
Oh, well, we are going to have a product that's going to be out this fall. Last year, I was going to have an LTO that we were going to launch, but the government shutdown really put a hamper on that. So, to give everyone a peek behind the curtain, everything that we do, we have to send it off to the TTB for regulatory purposes. So, where we are a bourbon finishing company primarily, we have to do a formula check with the TTB. So they have to make sure that we're not putting anything goofy in there. And then after that, you have to then have a cola check. So I'm sure some of your big whiskey nerds will know about Coming Whiskey as an Instagram channel, I think.
Yeah.
What they're doing there is they're trolling through the public registers of colas. So that's the approved label, because in the US, whiskey labels are legal documents. So
Interesting.
we're going to be, yeah. So if you're really geeky, you can be patrolling the cola website looking for what RD1's coming up next. I'm particularly excited about it. It's going to be, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about without getting fussed at. So, but I'm excited. I think we're going to try to lean into some more of the America's birthday themes. This year's what, 225 years? And
250, yeah.
250, yeah. So it's pretty cool what I was able to do. It wasn't initially what I was planning on. The TTB shutdown kind of shut the window out of that one product, but we might bring it back later. But it's going to be different than anything else on the market, even though the wood finish may not be something that will be unfamiliar. I can say that.
Gotcha.
So sorry I can't announce it right now.
That's fine.
But
I don't want to get you in trouble.
Well,
there's so I want to put a plug in real quick. You mentioned beer barrel aging, and I see an opportunity. And after we do this interview, I definitely want to continue to collaborate with you. I think there's a good opportunity for us to maybe do a barrel pick of a beer aged whiskey of some kind. We'll talk. We'll workshop it. I'm a huge fan. Well, actually, we're both huge fans of stouts, so maybe there's an opportunity to find a bourbon that you're into that would be good in a stout finish barrel. But either way, I'll be in touch with you. Certainly. I just want to mention a few things. I like the progression that we had here today. At first, I was worried that the Amburana would be so dominant that going into the maple would throw everything off. And I don't know, maybe my tasting notes reflected that. I really did get this East Indian spice rack thing happening here on the maple, but that's not to say it doesn't taste good, because it does. But I had a good time. I had a fun time talking with you about RD1 stuff. And I don't know, Patrick, did you want to lead out with anything?
I just want to say thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I've been to the distillery district spot. Kind of happy and sad to see that you guys aren't there anymore. I think growth is great, but that was a cool spot. But yeah, it's awesome getting to talk to you and getting to taste through some stuff that you guys are putting out.
Well, thanks for having me. And if you want to get in contact with us, contact Elizabeth through our contact page on rd1spirits.com. And if you guys are in the Lexington area, you'll have to come by, and maybe we can do this in person again, and I can show you our new digs. They're pretty sweet. I did an interview a while back, and everyone thought this was a green screen. I'm like, nope,
Ah.
this is real. So yeah, it looks like a green screen, but it's real. So
I'm gonna have to take you up on that.
thanks for. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and I've
absolutely.
got all sorts of goofy stuff in the lab that we can get into. And after we're done, I'll tell you about the beer barrel finish that I have that you might be interested in.
Okay, we shall do that.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Yeah.
for those of you guys watching and listening in, I appreciate you sticking around. I know we got through a lot of different questions. I tend to ask a lot of questions, so appreciate it and appreciate the whiskey. Patrick,
All right.
here we go. And Jarrad, thank you again for joining us and sharing your story and a little bit about RD1. Cheers, guys.
Thank you for having me.